everyone, it's Mary. Today I have a book haul for you and I have a lot of books, so I better go straight into the haul and show you all the books that I've been acquiring for the past, I don't know, 3-4 months. I don't even remember when I did my latest book haul, and I was even unsure whether to keep doing these hauls or not, but I want you guys to know what it's been going on and what I've been buying, what I've been wanting to read and to get to sooner rather than later. I don't know when I will get to all of these books. My birthday also is coming up very soon, and I won't receive that many books as I did last year. My husband, I know for sure, is going to buy me some, so another haul is going to be happening. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get into the books. We have a book that originally is written in Spanish, and it's this one, which I'm pretty sure it's translated into English, and it's called My Child Won't Eat by Carlos González. And this is a non-fiction book that I have already read, and I'm just going to pop a picture here of the English translation. I kind of regret getting this one in Italian just because I can read in Spanish. I just wanted this one in Italian so that I could reference to it more easily to other people when I had to tell them the things that I think are very useful and explain a lot of things about. I didn't even tell you what this book is about, but it's basically about mostly about weaning your child. So when your child is starting to eat, let's say, normal food that is not milk. And it talks a little bit about breastfeeding as well, which is the main reason why I purchased it. I suppose it's going to be useful for me later on. And it was still useful for me for breastfeeding, you know, breastfeeding wise. And I just think that this is not a wrap up though. So as I was saying, I regret buying this in Italian just because the translation is very poor. It's something that happens all the time with Spanish. Being Italian and Spanish slightly similar as languages. Just anybody thinks that they can translate Spanish, and it's not, you know, that easy as it seems. So it usually translates in a very poor rendering of the Spanish language. Yeah, but this was beside the point. This one. And since I had, as I said, read that book and fell in love with the author, who is a pediatrician, I think, a Spanish pediatrician, and I just love the way he talks and the way he thinks, so I thought I'd just keep on reading his works. And this other one, I don't know if it's translated into English, but it's basically a guide on breastfeeding. Since the other book was focusing on weaning more than breastfeeding, I thought I'd get something more specific for my case, which, you know, I'm very passionate about breastfeeding and about, you know, doing it in the best way possible. So this one I'm finding very useful. I'm basically halfway through, and this time around I purchased this in Spanish. So again, if it exists, I'm just going to pop a picture here of the English translation. It's a guide on breastfeeding, basically. So yeah, this one. And then onto the books that I own in English. So firstly, I got yet another edition of The Lord of the Rings. This one is a mass market paperback, but it's very beautiful. And it's, you know, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. I'm just going to show you the covers. So this is the first one, The Fellowship of the Ring, and then we have The Two Towers and The Return of the King. I'm not going to talk a lot about The Lord of the Rings. I think I've talked about it plenty of times, especially in my latest videos. I'm rereading this book with Natalie over at A Curious Reader. We'll keep on reading possibly next month. I don't know, I kind of stopped my rereading, you know, my body read when I gave birth, but I'm just going to resume it, and we're going to be joined by Yamini over at A Skeptical Reader. So I'm very excited to get back to this. This was a childhood favorite, and I'm kind of excited to get to this in these particular editions because I just think they look gorgeous, even though they were very cheap and are mass market paperbacks. Next, I have a manga, which is the first volume of Orange. And as I said, I want to get to more mangas. I actually purchased another, first volume of another manga series that I didn't get to yet. But this one seemed very exciting, and I think I've seen this one talked about in Sabrina's channel, Mischief Managed, and she was very passionate about this. She loved this series and she kind of inspired me to go and get it. So this is the first one. I don't know anything about it. I just know that it talks about a girl that it's in high school, I believe, and she kind of gets in contact with her future self or something like that. I think it has some sci-fi elements and kind of high school setting that I always appreciate, so I just think I'm going to enjoy this one. Oh, I forgot to mention that this is by Ichigo Takano, and it's translated by Ember Tamosaitis. Yeah, sorry if I butchered that one, but yes, this one. Next up I have a Booktube darling, I think, of the last kind of period, which I've seen on a lot of channels that I really admire and adore. In particular, I've seen this on Mel's channel, that is Mel's Bookland Adventures. So this is the Illumination of Ursula Flight by Anna Marie Crowhurst, and I don't actually know a lot about this book, and I just want to leave it at that because I've heard this summarized, and that was enough for me to intrigue me and pick this one up. I just know that it's a coming-of-age story that is set in the 17th century. From what I've heard, it's supposed to be amazing, and it's not every day that I purchase a hardcover edition of a book. I usually prefer paperbacks, but this one looked incredible, and sorry for the glare, but it's actually very, very beautiful, as you can see. These are the inside papers. Even in the printing of this book is very, luxurious in a way, and I just think that I'm going to love this one. Next up I have Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and this is the 1818 text, so the original text. And I'm looking forward to get to this classic because actually I never read Frankenstein. I think I've read like kind of bits of it when I was in high school, I guess, but I don't remember. I know what the story is about, and I remember the story. I think I've seen a movie adaptation when I was very, very young, but I'm just eager to get to the, the source material and actually the original text. I also have like a non-fiction book that talks about Mary Shelley's life, so I just want to kind of read those two back to back, so get to know her work, and then knowing a little bit more about her life. But yeah, this edition looks very creepy as well. And then I have actually yet another hardback edition of a book, which is Margaret the First by Danielle Dutton. First of all, it seems like a story that I would really, really enjoy, and it is also a gorgeous book. So these two things combined, it was just about time that I purchased this one. And I had my eyes on this book for a very long time, actually since Olive over at Book Olive. I'm just going to mention a lot of booktubers here, but Booktube is the main reason now for which I purchase books. So yeah, I'm grateful for that. So I've seen this book talked about on her channel. She adored it. She even got a tattoo inspired by this book. So I cannot deny that my hopes are very high for this one. It talks about Margaret, who is a duchess, and I just know that it talks about her life, and it's very inspiring, very feminist, and just set in the 17th century again, which is a time period that I really adore. So again, I'm hoping to really like this one. Next up I have the first of a series, which is Robin Hobb's Farseer series. I'm not exactly sure how many are there, if it's a trilogy or not. I just want to get to Robin Hobb's work, and I want to start from what is supposed to be the first one, and it is Assassin's Apprentice. I've heard amazing things about Robin Hobb's writing style, and I just want to get into another series. I've been reading, if you have been following me, I've been reading Outlander forever. I think it's been 4 years, and I promised to myself that I wouldn't get into any other series before finishing Outlander. So I just need to finish the last book, and then I'm going to jump into another series that possibly is going to be this one. Then I have two books which are part of the Book2film Club reading project, I don't even know, that is initiated by Adam over at Memento Mori, and I'm just going to leave a link to his channel down below. I'm just going to leave links to every channel that I mentioned. Each month we're reading a different book that has a movie adaptation to it, and we're just going to read the book and then watch the movie. And I'm a bit behind as usual, but these are the books that were supposed to be for October and November, or maybe it was September and October. Yes, I think it was September and October. So actually for September we were supposed to be reading The Woman in the Dunes by Kōbō, translated from the Japanese by E. Dale Saunders. So yes, this is a Japanese novel that is supposed to be a bit creepy, a bit weird. The protagonist of the novel gets captured somehow and has to go dig in the dunes, and then he finds a woman, and this woman is going to be his companion for a while. That's basically what I got from it. Creepy and interesting, I think. And then we have the pick for the pick for October, which is In a Glass Darkly by Sheridan Le Fanu. He's one of the great masters of Victorian mystery and horror fiction, so it's something that I don't usually read. I don't know how horror this collection of short stories is going to be. I hope it's not too scary for me, because as you know, because I don't read horror usually. But still, I'm thrilled to get to this one and see whether I'll be scared or you know, to see if I can stomach it and maybe pick up more things of the sort in the future. We're almost at the end. So we have two books by Daphne du Maurier. This is a project that is run by Ange over at Beyond the Pages. We're reading every Daphne du Maurier book in publication order. So the next two books that were the pick for October and November were Jamaica Inn, and I read both of these books by now, so I won't get into much detail, but Jamaica Inn is set in the 19th century on the Cornish moors, and the protagonist is this young girl called Mary Yellen, and after the death of her mother, which was her only living parent, she promised her she would get to her aunt and uncle that runs basically this inn that is called Jamaica Inn, and it doesn't have a very good reputation, so she's a bit wary when she finally gets to the place. And then things start to unravel from there. She will try to find out why this place has this kind of reputation, and she will also discover that her uncle is not an easy man to be with. The next pick was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which is her most famous novel. And again, I read this one. I finished this actually on the 1st of November, but I'm going to include this one in my October wrap-up because I've been reading this throughout, mostly throughout October, and I love this one, and I'm so glad that I read it. This is the story of a woman that gets married to this rich man that lives in this big estate that is called Manderley, and she is constantly haunted by the thought of his previous wife, who's called Rebecca, as the title suggests. So she has to live up to the comparison between her and Rebecca and what it means to her to enter this new life with this kind of burden. So yes, this one. And also I've been loving to get these Virago Modern Classics series by Daphne du Maurier. They have all the green spine or the white spine with the green borders, and I just think they look very gorgeous together, which is a side note that nobody cares about, but still I'm very much loving this. But unfortunately I cannot find every Daphne du Maurier book in this version. I kind of wished there were all her published books done by Virago, but unfortunately it's not the case. Still, I'm going to get most of her works in this kind of edition, and I think they look very pretty together. The cover was kind of cut in my head, so for the entire video you're just going to have my head cut, basically, but who cares. So the last two books that I'm going to mention are non-fiction books, so I wanted to end with non-fiction books just because it's non-fiction November and I'm very excited for it, even though I don't think I will follow the prompts that Olive over the Book Olive gave, but I'm going to read non-fiction mostly throughout the month of November, so I hope I'll get to these brand new ones that I purchased. And the first one is My Shitty 20s by Emily Morris, and this is a memoir that I think I've seen on Instagram, actually, not on Booktube. I don't think I've seen anyone talk about this book on Booktube yet, but it sounds like the perfect book to be reading for me, even though I hope to not relate to this one, because it talks about the author and as she gets pregnant when she's 22, yes, and this kind of ruined her life basically, but also made her who she is now. And obviously, even if it was something that she was not expecting at the time, I mean, I hope there is some bright side to it, and that she actually got out of it and actually is happy now. I hope. It just sounded intriguing to me. Obviously I love to relate to the things that I read, but I also love to see other perspectives and other things. I was pregnant last year, so it's something new to me. It's something that is fresh and in my experience, and it was a very positive experience in my case. It's something that I was hoping for. It's something that I looked forward to. And this book is the opposite of that. As it says here, the father of her baby told her to enjoy your impending shitty, snotty, vomity 20s, and then disappeared. So sometimes I think it's tough for me to be having this baby, but I need to remind myself that a lot of people have it more difficult than I do. Then I have a book that has been everywhere on Booktube, and obviously I wanted to join into the party, although I'm very late to it, but it's I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. This talks about the Golden State Killer and how the author was kind of obsessed with knowing what actually happened and to find out who the Golden State Killer was. So she wrote this book, and actually she died in the process, so she didn't get to finish the book that was actually finished by her lead researcher and a close colleague. So I know that this is kind of what makes this book less enjoyable, the fact that it's very fragmented because she died and she couldn't actually get to finish it. But still, I'm very curious to get to this one and to get to know the effort that she put into, she dedicated her entire life to this case, and I just want to see what she came up with. Those were all the books that I purchased. I'm sorry if I rushed through a lot of them. I'm sorry if I talked a little bit fast at times, but I just wanted to finish this as soon as possible since I don't have a lot of time. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know if you read any of the books that I mentioned, what you thought about them. Let's chat in the comments down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!